Good evening, welcome to the Abington Conservation meeting this evening. This is January 8th. And we have up first, old business, continuation of a hearing, file number 84514, notice of intent, 60 Richard Road.
Yeah, you might as well.
John Chapman?
I think there's plenty of room.
John?
Good evening. My name is John Potter. I work with the Russell Wheatley Company. I'm here representing Dawn and Kyla Chapman for an order of conditions so that they can construct a 24 by 36 garage attached to their existing dwelling. They have been to the zoning board of appeals. We've gone through this, but they have gone to the zoning board, have gotten permission from them, and have gotten variances and waivers in order to put it in the place that's shown on the plan. At the previous meeting, we had talked about the fact that they do have some trees that they want to remove, and it was brought to our attention that they do have a FEMA flood elevation land subject to flooding, which is also under your jurisdiction. I highlighted the trees that they would like to remove. Two of them we had already talked about and didn't appear to have an issue with, and that was one that's a 24-inch tree that is in the area where the garage is being constructed, and also there is a cluster of 4 trees that's up near the house that are in disrepair and should be removed. Since then, we've had an arborist from Palazzo and McDonough come out and look at a couple of, there's 2 sizable pine trees that are out there, and I highlighted them. And one of them is dead, and the other one is very big and is if it goes, it's going to hit the house. So they had recommended that both of those trees should be removed. And there was another dead tree that's off to the right of the garage. It's a 12-inch, small 12-inch maple, but it's dead, and it is leaning towards the garage. So they would ask that they be allowed to remove that one also on their property. There were 2 others I didn't highlight on the plan that is shown. Those 2 are also, they're in the right-of-way, so he doesn't own those trees. So I was recommending to Dawn that maybe he goes to the town and the town takes a look at them, and you allow him to, that he would be allowed to remove those other 2 trees also, which are, they're small, they're 12-inch trees, and they're again, they're leaning towards where the proposed garage is going. We have received a file number on the project, if you, other than that, I think we went over everything as far as the grading was concerned with the garage. We're not planning on doing any grading in the backyard, other than maybe top coating, top filling after the construction is done to recreate a backyard grass area. Other than that, I think we've covered most everything, and if you have any questions, be happy to take care of them.
Let's go to the trees, because I think last time we were talking about the fact that some of the trees you're talking about are in the FEMA flood zone at this point.
That's correct.
And that we were talking about not going back there. you know, and I understand your point.
Right.
That they're dead.
Right.
So I'm not, I'd like to just talk about it a little bit. These two sets up here, I personally don't have any issues with, yeah,
Right.
because they're by the houses, I understand them completely, and it
Mhm.
makes sense. So now, go back, explain to me what.
Those two, they weren't on the
One's
previous.
colored in green.
The
and
ones colored
not.
in green, those two are the ones going. The ones behind it, there's a cluster of three trees.
Who's here?
And
That's
those,
not
yeah,
colored?
that are not colored. Those 3 trees at that previous meeting we were gonna remove those.
Okay,
And you said we wanted to leave those, so that's what we did. We changed it, so we're leaving those. But when we looked and saw those other 2 pine trees, we had an arborist come out and take a look at it, because we noticed that the one in the back was dead. And so we just wanted to get his opinion on those trees, and his opinion was those trees should be removed because, for safety purposes, more than as much
So
as
when
anything else.
When he goes back there, is there clear access to these 2 trees, or?
Yes, there is. It's
So he'll
pretty.
be able to drive back
He'll be
there
able to
and-
get a machine in there and get them,
And
yes.
he won't do any damage otherwise?
No, he
okay.
will not.
Because this is grassed. I'm just trying to
Yeah, he
make sure
can
I
get in, he
understand
can
what
get
you're
in along the
asking
side, he can get in along the, if you're looking at the house, the right side of the house, he can get in there and remove
for.
it from
Okay,
there.
so there's 2 trees over here,
Yes.
and then there's 1 tree over here.
Yeah, that's in the woods, but it's dead.
And how are they planning on accessing that one?
I think they can just, I don't think they have to access, I think you can walk up, it's not that big a
So they're
tree.
gonna take a chainsaw
They're just
and
gonna
cut it
take a
down?
chainsaw and cut it down.
Because I would hate to see machinery
Mm.
whacking.
No,
there.
I think that
That's
would
what
be
I was
done by,
asking.
that one would be done by hand.
Okay, that one would be done by hand?
Yeah.
So they could just leave the stump
Right,
in place?
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that would probably not create a lot of disturbance. I think I would say that I wouldn't want to see a machine back there.
Right. No, there wasn't, no, I would think that one there.
So those are the 3 you want to take down? Are there any?
Those 5, there's a total of 5, there's the
Oh,
2.
yeah, 1,
For
2,
the size spots,
3.
yeah.
These 2 right here, they lean.
Which 2? These 2 here?
Yeah, I didn't
You didn't-
highlight
They're
it.
in the,
highlight them.
they're in the right of way. They're not on your
Yes,
property?
Right.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
If they were to take down the trees in the right of way, would that help with the right of way? Vehicles going in if they had to?
No,
All right.
no, not at all. That right of way is pretty heavily
Who
vegetated.
owns the
Okay.
right of way?
Huh?
Who owns the right of way?
As far as I know, that's, the town. I don't,
says
it's
private,
a
not
private.
constructed
If it's
way.
not the town, it's probably, Mr. Franny probably has, he would have the rights in it. Ownership, I don't think it's ownership. I think it's the
How big are
feet
they?
of the center line. They're 12-inch, 10-inch to 12-inch.
So those are also
Yeah, good.
hand cut?
Hand cut,
Yeah.
oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
So I think that would be my big stipulation here, that these 3 over
Those 3.
here would be hand cut.
Yeah.
But you haven't specifically said you were gonna take them down, but
Well, yeah, I didn't because I didn't know how I
Who
should
owns
approach it, whether.
you don't know who owns it,
go to
because
you- That's
if
right.
this is a private way,
Right.
Then it's intended to be, and it's shown on as a road.
Right,
Then
right.
he probably owns the
Joe
rights to
might-
it.
Joe might know who
Right.
owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right.
you should talk to Joe and see.
Uh-huh.
But, and the reason you wanna take those down is because they're dead as well?
Yeah, they're dead, they're, it's tough to say it's dead or it's dead, but they are definitely leaning over, they're leaning over to where the garage is gonna be, so they'd be, it would be a safety issue as far as the garage is concerned.
All right.
That'd be the first thing you do is take all the trees down before you start building.
Because the house is already there, though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But that would make sense, actually.
Anything else? That's it, yeah?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm all
I'm
set.
good.
Anybody In-
I think you understand what we're
Oh,
gonna ask.
absolutely,
so.
absolutely.
Anybody in the audience for this? No? I'll bring it back to the board. Would someone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve plans dated
Yeah, that would be
November 6, 2017, as revised January 8th, 2018.
I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Remember when we were doing the orders, we just want those three hand cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have that in the orders.
But no heavy equipment. Yeah, those cranes have some pretty long reach. Depends on how big the tree is.
100 feet anyways, over.
Yeah.
Jerry, we have folks in the audience, are they here for something particular?
Probably the next one.
Next one.
Next one? What's the next one?
Walnut Street.
Oh, jeez. I didn't look at this one. I must have opened the wrong
236
email.
Walnut.
Shoot, I meant to look
Tearing
that
down
up.
the rebuilding.
Yeah, I meant to look that up. Did anybody look this up on the DEP map?
Sorry, not me.
No. Shoot. I looked at the wrong one.
John, all set?
Give it a try.
All right, next order of business is notice of intent, file number 84517, Walnut Street. Sean Walsh and Jennifer
It's actually Pishkin.
Kishkin, thank you. Removal of existing house and construct a new single-family home within the 100-foot buffer zone of vegetated wetlands. Is that you guys? Are you the owners? Butters? Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, very good.
Okay. Is it me? Or did we?
Would you like to see a plan?
I know what you're gonna do.
Okay.
We've been talking about it for years.
Boy, the whole
Yes.
thing's in the buffer zone, though.
Everyone does that existing drainage ditch.
Okay.
That's like far up there.
John Cotta from the Russell Wheatley Company. I am here representing Mr. and Mrs., well, it's Sean Walsh and Jennifer Pishkin. They are here,
Saw that.
we are here to
We'll go to plan.
present a plan for in order of conditions on their property. Currently, there is an existing house on the plan, on the lot, shown an address to number 236 Walnut Street. The plan is to be allowed to construct a new house, as shown. It's shown there on the plan in red, and then to raise or demolish the existing house. The work. All of the work is within the 100-foot buffer zone. No work is being done within the bordering vegetated wetlands. The bordering vegetated wetlands was flagged by Pine Brook Consulting, Brook Monroe. It has as you can see, there's a little appendage that's kind of like a man-made kind of a stone swale, actually, is or a swale that protrudes into in the middle of the property and then drops back to in the woods to a existing drainage ditch, and then comes back out towards Walnut Street. Little irregular shape, but that's kind of what it that's what it does. There's a little pathway that goes to the drainage ditch, and hence the reason for the irregular shape on the wetlands line. The work is to be to construct, as I said, construct a single-family residential dwelling within the buffer zone, and would be conforming to the zoning setbacks in all respects. The existing house would then be, as I said, would be raised or demolished, and the existing garage slash workshop would be left, but that would remain. The sedimentation barrier shown on the plan allows for, it's a minimum of 10 feet from any of the bordering vegetated wetlands, so that we are giving a 10-foot buffer to the wetlands as required, or it's required now, right? Or requested by the board. As a mitigating measure, and that is pretty much, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's a fairly simple, straightforward. It will conform, like I said, to zoning requirements. It will conform to the Wetlands Protection Act, and if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain them.
Any questions from the board?
Has anybody been out there?
I know where it is, because I did construction on it.
Yeah, but nobody's been out to
No,
the
not.
property, right?
No.
No, I think that we should walk it, somebody should at least, before we approve a
I mean-
wetlands line. But the problem is this is the
Snow.
problem we always have this time of year.
I know,
Is
I
the
know.
snow, and
Yeah.
I think I got this, on the day it snowed. So it wasn't like any of us could get out there to go look at it, but I feel uncomfortable that nobody's looked at it. That's just a general comment. I think we should look at it before we approve it. Nobody's gonna be building on it anytime,
Do you have any dates on it?
I do not. I do not. I mean, if it had to be, if that's what has to be, that's what has to be. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
think
gonna,
we should-
I'm not gonna,
I think we set that
Yeah.
precedent last
Yeah.
winter, we, the
That's
same
okay.
thing. Somebody
Well,
should look at
yeah.
it, just to make sure that it makes
Well,
sense.
tentatively, can we,
Why don't we, do you wanna reschedule it for 2 weeks from now and see if
tentatively, and if things
not,
go,
we
the
may have-
snow leaves or whatever goes down, we can
we can,
take a look and then go from there?
yeah.
Is that all right with everybody?
Yeah, and,
John?
we'll see if their snow melts.
Is it okay to go?
I'm up to, yeah,
Is
this
it
is
okay?
up to you guys.
Do we have permission to go on the property?
I don't think there'd be a problem. I don't think Mr. Walsh wants to go forward with the process, so I don't
Okay.
think it would be an issue.
And I did wanna make a point that the Robert Creighton here that's in a butter is no relation to me.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know who
I didn't
they
even
are.
think of that.
He's in his mid-80s,
He's in his mid-80s, but no relation to me.
I keep care of, I take care of him.
Oh, that's nice. That's very nice.
He's not in a rush to get
Is that
going on this, is
all
he?
right, guys, on
But
that?
otherwise, I think,
Well, yes and no. I mean, he does want to get, he wants to
All
get
right.
rolling, but he wants to get
Not gonna
he
do anything
wants to
this
get his
evening.
approvals, you know?
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
if-
it's
yeah,
not like we're
this
holding
is-
up the closing or anything right now, so.
All right.
I
All right.
may, oh, you wanna ask the public if they have any questions?
I did.
Oh, you did? You guys are,
Actually, yeah, I have a question.
go ahead.
My name is Carol Remick, and I'm here with my nephew John Coleman, representing the Coleman family. They're abutters on the left side of this property and behind. They own the land behind this property. What I just wanted to know is, on this map that we have here, we have this setback in the back of the property. That's not all Mr. Walsh's land, is that right?
What's that? Which-
I'm looking at the rear of their property line. Doesn't go back that far.
Their property goes back 260 feet from the street.
260, is
Yeah.
that what you said?
Yeah, 260 on one side and 231.96 on the other side.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So the broad black line is their property
That-
line?
that- yes, it
I really
is.
didn't think it went that far back, because I know the Colemans own behind their house.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I was just wanted to distinguish where it was. I'm glad to see that they're removing the original house, just because it's right on the property line.
Yeah, very, very
So I'm
close.
really glad about that. What's the setback from the property line on the house now?
In this particular zone, it's, in this particular zone, this is, it's 35 feet from the street line, which that's, in all residential zones, it's 35. In the R30 zone, it's 20 feet from the sideline and 30 feet from the rear line.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate appreciate it.
Welcome.
Yeah,
That's
and
these
just
lines
because
here,
of
right?
Where it's situated right now.
Pardon?
The setback lines
Yeah.
are actually on here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's right on it. Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right, very good.
Sounds good, right? Any questions?
So,
Bring it
what
back
do you
to
need?
I
the
make
board.
a motion to continue this hearing
Oh,
to January
I'm glad that they did this.
22nd?
22nd.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
What do you want pictures of?
I just wanted to walk the wetlands,
Okay.
and make sure that it made sense.
Okay.
I think it was good business that we make sure that we're comfortable, that it's right. Brooke usually does a good job, but, yeah, you can take a look.
How's Brandon doing?
Because if it gets to.
Brandon's doing really good. They're gonna have another baby.
Oh, very good. What's that, 3?
It'll be 3.
Good for him.
Yeah, and he's a
Getting ready for
master sergeant.
retirement?
Master
Master
sergeant.
Sergeant, E6?
I think it's E6.
God bless, that's what I made.
Yeah,
I made it to E6 in 8 years.
yeah.
And then I made E5 like up and down and up again.
Yeah, so he's, I think that's what he was, Jimmy. I'm not really not sure to tell you the truth,
Well,
but,
he's-
yeah, so he passed the test.
Unfortunately, this time.
He passed the test, and now he has to wait, to wait to so
Kathy, you
long.
wanna do
Has to
the,
wait until March, I
the,
think it is.
order conditions, please?
Oh, sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get the rest of it.
How much time has he got left there though? He must be ready for retirement, right? Getting close to it?
Well, this is his last
Did everybody get
re-up
one?
was
Did you
this
get one,
one. I
Jerry?
think he's got 6 years to go.
I'm thinking good tonight.
Wow.
Because he went in the same year Andrea passed away.
Oh, that's right. Wasn't he in boot camp when
Yeah.
that happened? I remember
Yeah.
that.
Excuse me, guys.
I'm out of here. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you. You guys have a good night.
You too.
Be
Thank
careful
you.
going home.
Enjoy the game.
You got a little bit of
Well, you
snow
break the
going.
rain for us, you know.
Huh?
Put the
I tried to
plow
make
down
them
the truck.
short and
Put your plow down.
make it short. Tried to make it short and sweet.
Okay, so this is the order of conditions for 60 Richard Road.
Yes.
A1,
Through 6.
A1 through 6, how far do we want the
Excuse me,
siltation
please?
fence? 10 feet?
It's like right on the property line.
10 feet from the wetlands edge?
This is the,
A1?
yeah, that's where he's got the siltation phase.
Yeah.
Fence.
B1, B2, B3, right, any drainage. Oh, we don't have any
No,
drainage.
we don't have any.
Drainage, I don't think we need
No
the rest of
drainage,
this.
no.
Oh, B7. No wetlands replication, no wildlife habitat, okay, G. G1, G2, G3, G4. G5, 25 feet, Nancy. G6, 20, G7. H2, H4, H5, H6, H7, H8, and H9. I1,
Bingo.
A, B, C, D, E,
Jeez, I wish we felt
F-
like F
F.
for sure.
and then under J, special conditions,
How do you wanna word that? No heavy equipment and,
well, except when you look at the plan, they're gonna bring the heavy equipment in
Right side.
on this side
Yeah.
because they have a big tree. They have a 24-inch
Right.
and an 18-inch tree. So they need to bring the heavy equipment in here with,
it'll come in this way.
it'll come in that way. They'll take that down and then get to there.
Yeah,
So it's these three
They're gonna do it by hand.
they're gonna do
Yep.
by hand. So the removal, maybe it's the removal of the 3 trees on or near the private way, right away, near the right of way.
yeah.
Are to be hand cut. So 3 trees indicated on the plan near the, near the right-of-way will be hand cut.
Okay.
No heavy equipment.
heavy equipment.
Will be used for those, removal of those 3 trees. That's the best thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good?
that was painless.
And that's it?
That's it?
As far as the special condition?
Yeah, just that one.
Okay.
It's a pretty simple filing, except for that.
Next is the discussion on CPA.
Well, can we do the bylaw violation policy first, because I think that one's faster.
Discussion of the bylaw violation policy.
Yeah,
And we have
what's that?
copies.
Of the,
When did you make copies of, Nancy? Oh, the enforcement manual.
I have one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I must have,
It was emailed to Jerry.
again?
I did it for you. I've had it.
I have copies from the last
Here,
time I was
I
on
had
this
it,
board.
Mr. Dombrowski emailed it to me, because from a couple of months ago, we were discussing it, and he was watching, and then his note to me. So
Yeah.
I saw it, and then I saw this coming up, so I asked Nancy to copy, because
I
my,
think they're actually revising it too, or coming up with a course for enforcement.
yeah.
But if you, Nancy included in our packet a bylaw a general bylaw that we enacted. It looks like this in your packet, this one. You go to the next one, that
Okay.
one there. And I was on the bylaw committee when we did this. And the idea of this was, you could impose a fine on people, but you would always, could fight you in court for anything that you have a fine for. You know, it's just one of those things. But this was to allow a town process so that you could, basically a ticket system that you could give to people.
So that they have no recourse to fight.
Well, they still can fight, they can go to the town manager first, rather than everybody end up in court. This was a process to try to resolve it at the town level and save everybody a bunch of money. You know, and if you read through it, the enforcing officer, in this case would be us, because we have enforcement power, but they're expected to be paid to the town, but if somebody has a problem, they can appeal it to the town manager. And then he can waive it if he decides we were wrong, or if he agrees with us, he can leave it in place, or come to a negotiated settlement, which I think makes more sense. But the point I think I wanted to point out was, first violation's a warning, the second violation's $50, which is what I think we were looking for. And then it goes up depending on the subsequent violations. And it looked like what we were trying to do is just add violation increments from 50 to 300, and I guess my point was, it already exists.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. If, say you hit me with a fine, and I say, I don't wanna go to the town manager, I'm going right to court.
You can.
Then why are we adding more process to the?
The point was that we wanted we added, these fines didn't exist before. So
These ones?
These ones.
Okay,
So-
okay, we're talking about way back when this came,
When this
okay.
came out, so these fines didn't, you could fine up to 300, but we wanted to turn in a process that made sense.
Right,
So
I
that-
agree with that.
So that if they get one and say, oh, okay, I don't want to go any further, I'll pay it, or.
I'll pay it.
or
Well, and the
discussion
first
comes
violation
to-
is a warning, so,
Yeah.
you know, you're not out, you're not out to get someone. This was supposed to
Yeah.
be a way to work with
Yeah, it
people.
works.
And the intent of this was to actually get things settled rather than end up in court. Because court's expensive for both parties.
Everybody, yeah.
And this is a process that allows it to be resolved at the town level. You can still go to court, you know, you can always go to court on anything.
Let me ask you this, let's say we issue a fine to somebody, and they come in and they say to us, I don't wanna pay that fine, and we discuss and say, no, we're gonna waive it. Can we do that? Well,
Or we
then-
could go to the town manager and waive it, but
Well, I'm talking right now, as this is set up, can we waive that fine?
I think we could tell the town manager to waive it, and he would. I mean, you know, it's pretty simple. So,
Well, you could use it in a different way, is with the fine there, well, we can waive the fine if you do what we,
we want them to do
Yes.
it, right. I mean, we have plenty of examples of, we've asked people to do something and had to ask them a number
Time
of
and time
times,
again.
or it just hasn't happened.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, the pond at, what was that, Cleveland Pond, they still haven't cleaned up the stuff. And to me, that's just aggravating. They didn't take all the stump,
All the brush is still
all the
there.
brush is still there.
Still there.
And, they continue to park on the left-hand side of the building, and it makes me crazy every time I drive by it. But, the only way, when they come back to do something else, is when
We have that over them.
we'll have that over them.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
but this is a way to address it when it happens, and hopefully get people to understand
Yeah.
that, I don't think people are, we need to do something. So, anyway.
At least we have it sitting there, and it's in.
That was my point.
It comes to head, then we can work with it. If you get up to, we do, like I just said, if you will do this, we will waive the fine, have that over the head or something
Right,
like
right.
that.
Well, and also, we still will do what we always do, which is issue a warning to start with,
Yeah.
unless it's.
The reason this
total-
came up on this is because this is what's online,
Right.
under the town.
No, this is two. This is just under the general provisions. This is under our wetlands provisions.
Right. And this, doesn't explain in detail what the fines are.
No, because this one, this is, there's the general, and this is just sort of
If you
like,
go on,
another
under the
chapter.
Conservation Commission, this is what you see. You
right.
don't
We're-
see this.
This is chapter one, this
And-
is chapter 171 of our
Yeah.
regulations. It's just a long.
There's
a
two
lot.
different sets of rules here.
There's a set of rules for zoning, there's a set of rules for plant subdivisions, there's a whole bunch of bylaws in there. We have a lot of laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my point is. I wanna see less.
Yeah. But in this case, it was intent to make, this was the whole point of this, was just what you guys were trying to do, was set up
Yeah.
a fine system, and it already exists, I guess was my point. And now, I think the next discussion is, how are we gonna use it? Are we gonna use it? I think we should at some point,
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
but, we may wanna talk about it some more, but you may wanna take a look at this some
Sure.
more,
So
and try
the-
to figure out how best to use it.
So the only difference between this and this is we put the town manager as another step.
Yeah. It's an appeal process.
Mm-hmm.
So, we don't, there's no appeal of that except to go to court. There's an appeal process here that you can go to the town manager. So hopefully,
That's their right. I mean, if we wanna say, we're fining you and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's the end. They go to court now, but now they can go to the town manager, and if he says, no, we're gonna stick it, then they go to court.
yeah,
All right.
it might, I think the intent was to at least try to minimize how many, some of the process, and have people feel like they have a recourse rather than just having to go right to court.
Right.
And hire a lawyer. They can fight it on their own with the town manager, involved, so.
Yeah, I can see that. They have a beef with us and the fine, and instead of going to court, they go to the town manager.
Mhm.
One step, yeah. Doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, let's
All
accept
right.
a little time,
Want to go back to the first one then?
yeah. So, oh, look at that, Nancy. Printed out a whole bunch of stuff for us here, honey. I guess what I wanted to talk about today was Community Preservation Act. They're starting to be a decent sum of cash there. Some projects have come forward, like the playground, and the playgrounds got rehabbed, a couple of the playgrounds, Arnold Park and the West Chestnut Street one.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be putting up new fences in the fall, I think, in the spring at both of those, at West Chestnut, I should say. That'll be nice. They've done Griffin's
Bless you.
Dairy, they've done phase one, there's 3 phases, hopefully. I don't know what we'll vote for, but I assume we'll vote for phase 2, but we'll have to see what we vote. We did some rehab at the VFW, American Legion, right?
American Legion,
I get
yeah.
them confused, sorry guys. But it was the first high school in Abington, and it's a historic building, so they did some rehab there. And there's supposed to be a study of the bridge at Island Grove, the pedestrian bridge. And we have a bunch of proposals for this year, but I think that, you know, open space and recreation is one of the areas that they can spend money on. And what I thought we should talk about is, what is we as a board, what do we want to go, you know, should we propose something? And what is it should we propose? You know, do we want connecting trails? You know, do we want to
Well-
connect the air base to the town? Do we want to do something through Beaver Brook? Or do we want to buy a parcel? You know, should we recommend buying a parcel? We have to put a proposal in front of CPA to tell them what we want to do.
Question. Have you, Griffin's Dairy, how much further are they gonna, I noticed they put some fence up just before it snowed, I drove by, all kinds of fence, I mean, some fencing and stuff like that.
They're only doing right now what
It's just.
it shows on the notice of intent that was
Mhm.
submitted. I think if they go farther, they may have to submit another notice of
Okay.
intent.
They've got the path all the way to the bridge, and
Right.
after that, it's nothing.
I think that's correct.
And that's, all right. And that's part of your money that you gave to Griffin?
We gave them the
committee?
money for the pathways, the fencing, you know, and the pathways needed a lot of reinforcement is the best way to put it. You know, it was all, you know, farmyard muck.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
wet
I understand. Yeah, they had to go down.
And they had to go down deep and replace all that
Yeah, yes, I
material
saw
with
it, yeah.
solid material, so
Yeah.
we'll have good trails.
I mean, and that trail, it's, you know, it seems quite high. I mean, I walked it right after, shortly after they finished.
Right, right,
It's a
and they
good
put the parking
path.
lot in, and they've, you know, they'll have completed what they planned on, in that notice of intent that was
Now,
submitted.
for you to know, but are the soccer people gonna start using that field since spring comes? Or you
I don't,
nobody
it
knows?
appears to me that nobody seems to know. I think that the Griffin's Dairy Committee believes it's a park and rec thing to do, the
Yeah.
park. And I think that they actually think that they may need to do more work on those fields. And in my comments been, if they're gonna do anything more than what they presented to us, they're gonna have to come back to us. If they're just gonna, what? Top
coated.
Top coated, whatever.
Well, yeah.
If they're just gonna top
Fill
coat
in the
it,
little
Wouldn't it,
holes.
but, I mean, when the high school's going, I mean, by
there's a lot of fields.
May they'll, have everything done, and then those soccer people will probably be using the field by then, wouldn't you think?
I would think so.
I would
But
think so.
rather than take the time to go down there and cut all that grass down and get rid of that hard stuff, because the kids can't play soccer and fall on it. I mean,
No.
it's too sharp.
No, but they still may wanna fix the fields at some point, just
Yeah.
as a, you know, a
A
useful,
recreation
I mean,
area.
a recreation
If
area.
kids go up there and then, let's say, they want to fly their kites or something like that, you know,
Coaches
that'd be
could go up
great.
there and use it for practices.
I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was, a lot of the intent was practice fields
Yeah.
long-term.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But we'll see what they decide to do, but so
Yeah.
far, it appeared to me that the Griffin's Dairy Committee was doing everything but the fields.
Oh, all right.
And that-
So, we have to come up with what we would like to have done somewhere.
Right, and so, you know, I think Nancy gave us the inventory of our lands, which is helpful, because you can kind of see, you know, the open space includes things like, you know, the schools. You know, we forget that we have open space places that we may not, conservation may not own the land.
Mhm.
But, I did hear at the selectmen's meeting, have you heard anything about Diane's Circle? They were gonna have us look at the plan to see what properties we wanted to keep, and then they were gonna sell off the rest or something.
Isn't there a lot of
Something like
wetlands
that.
up there?
Yeah, it's a lot of wetlands, so, you know, obviously we
Yeah.
take the wetlands, but, they were asking us about that. So that could be a place, but I guess there was a list, sorry, in the open space plan, I found it online, but we had like a list of goals that I think that somebody put together, and like one of them is planning and building bicycle routes connecting recreational assets and other destinations and allowing passage through Ames Knoll Park and on to Brockton or Holbrook. Connecting the Plymouth Street Conservation Land to the adjacent Island Grove Park. So we talk about Griffin's Dairy when they say, which one's Plymouth Street Conservation Land? must be.
What was that?
Griffin's Dairy is Plymouth Street, but.
Yeah, connecting the Plymouth Street Conservation Land to the adjacent Island Grove Park across the railroad tracks. Possibly with an underground, I didn't catch this one, possibly a pedestrian
Wheatley?
underpass.
No.
It's gotta go under the train tracks, that's what they're talking about.
That's what I'm thinking,
T
I'm
would
like, no
never
way.
approve that.
No.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Completing the Abington portion of the Hanover Bike Trail, I think we did that.
Oh, that's, have they opened that?
I don't know if they've opened it, but it
They-
looks,
The paving of it, yeah, it's
Yeah.
all done, it's
Yeah.
open.
Yeah, oh, I mean,
Yeah.
I see, I mean, the office is right next to the Rockland one, and that's,
Yeah, all the,
that's
they got
always
rid of all the
used.
ties and everything and
That's good.
paved it, it's beautiful.
That's-
Once the snow goes away.
and my-
again.
That's why,
Yeah.
that's how I went to my grandmother's.
Starts right, yeah, where your father had the oil,
Yeah.
yeah, it starts right there on Monroe Street.
yeah, so there's a couple, we had acquisition of, it called the Oakland Road Upland area, largely west of the Shumatik,
Yeah, we know what
Tuscan
you're
River.
talking about.
yeah, Shumatusket River. But I think the town did buy that piece a while back, and then they say accomplishment of the Beaver Brook acquisitions west of Old Country Lane and Diane Circle and near southern Beaver Brook Conservation Land and coordinated management with Brockton's Beaver Brook. I would love to, what I was actually thinking when I went through this is Old Colony Planning Council helped us with this.
Yes, I have the report.
Yeah. Is that guy still with them, Nancy?
No, he retired.
He
finally.
did. But could we ask them if there's anybody that we could talk to about open space planning
Yeah,
at the Old Colony Planning Council? That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking that might be helpful, because they had some recommendations of either acquisition of land or, you know, and it might be something like if we are gonna look at Diane Circle, we might decide to do something.
Not to take it away from Abington, but I have, my daughters live in different towns between Kingston, Wellesley, and
Wellesley.
Amesbury.
Wow.
Well,
Nice.
they have a lot of that stuff already in place. I mean, that's how my daughter walks. The railroad track thing is fantastic.
Right.
It's unbelievable. I mean.
Right, and we-
that's how my daughter and her friends walk.
Right, and we have
they're all along Brooks, I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
and we have a lot of conservation space or open
Oh,
space.
yeah, we have the same thing,
But-
connect them all. I
But
mean,
we
you
need to connect them.
And walk around the whole town and, you know.
Right, like you can't, that's, I think, the issue is that like we haven't connected
No,
things.
no, because, Anne Marie, she walks out, she can go down the street, and then there's a path.
Right,
And then she starts, you know, it's amazing.
it's nice, and it's nice, you know, to
Oh, yeah.
see that. So, but, you know, I think we need to figure out where we wanna acquire, you know, whether do we wanna chase acquiring, or do we wanna chase, you know, trying to,
Well,
Utilize.
Build-
start out
build
and come up with-
connections.
Like you said, it's start with
Or-
come up with a plan and get it together and
Right,
step by
right, and-
step.
the other place that, you know, it was not Diane Circle, but behind that is it's Beaver Brook, right? Yeah, that one, you know, I think
Comes
there's.
out onto Mill Street or something.
Right, and
Yeah.
we had talked about at some point, maybe, you know, putting a trail there. That
Yeah.
might, you know, that may be, you know, it might be that, or it might be that we wanna try to acquire something, but I think we need to put our heads
Yeah.
together. But I think if we could get Old Colony Planning Council to help us a little bit, that would be good, if they have anybody, Nancy. Cause they did it for free they didn't get it, they had some grant,
Yeah.
but,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah.
Anything
Can you
else?
ask, and if they say no, we'll figure something else out.
All right.
But, can you give that to Nancy? She can probably put it in our packet the next time. That's just
Okay.
another piece of the open space plan, Nancy. So that was but I think we also should take a look to see
Available.
What's available, yeah, what's in this.
what we have for open space already, because maybe it'll trigger something in somebody's head.
All right.
The old town dump, there was a ton of lots out there behind the town dump, it's all town owned.
There is?
Oh, yeah, it comes almost all the way over to my
Over
property.
to your property, yeah.
Does
And
it
goes
really?
up.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, if you look at the map and you start looking, it's amazing how much land there is out there.
go
Huh.
on Google Earth and look at it.
Yeah,
Wow.
you'll be
Right,
surprised how
and we
much
see,
it's all town
we
owned.
have like pieces of land all over town
Yeah.
that are owned, that are open space, and a
Yeah.
lot of it's like, wetland with some upland.
Yeah,
And nobody's using it because we haven't figured out a way
To get them there.
to get them there, because we had no money. So
Right.
we have an avenue now of maybe being able to
Yeah,
get some funding. And, maybe
I
we
didn't-
start with something small and try something bigger, or we go with something big to start with, I don't.
I didn't know we
don't
had access up at the airbase.
Isn't that
Off of
cool?
Spruce Street, there's an area for us.
They put a little parking
to
lot
go
in.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just, make sure you put a lot of,
I do the Rockland one too, the
Yeah,
Rockland
put-
Town Forest.
put high socks on and put a lot of,
Yeah.
That was another way.
there's a lot of ticks out there.
And live,
I ain't going.
living on East Street, that's how we
Three
used to
times
come
one
through the
disease.
woods to get to Plain Street.
Right.
My grandmother's.
I look like a boy in a bubble if I do that.
All right,
Very good.
are we all set?
We
Yep.
need to sign that.
Oh, yeah, do we have any
Um,
correspondence?
Correspondence?
No.
No?
Wow, nobody loves us this week.
Building permits, there was a couple, but there was no conservation involved. And next is, everybody had time to review the minutes?
Oh, I gotta dig that. I just put everything away too.
Nancy gave them to us in
Well,
a nice
we
packet.
got the letter from, the email from Mary Ellen.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that's
Oh,
too bad. but I did run into her, and I think it was just,
Yeah, she was
her life's too
alright.
busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and everybody gets one of these.
Oh, I read this.
Oh, I wasn't good, now I don't have to worry about it.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 11th.
Second.
All those in
Second.
favor?
December 11th. Second. All right.
I abstain.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 27th, 2017.
All those in favor?
Second.
Second. Aye.
I
November 13th?
make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good.
Nancy, I don't think I was at the November 13th minutes meeting.
No, you weren't. You weren't at the November 13th?
Did I have you listed?
Yeah.
No, it's absent. It's under absent
You're
Oh, you're
absent on
absent.
the, all
for
of
November
November.
13th.
Yeah, I was out partying.
Okay.
Yahoo?
And
Did
you
you
weren't
get an
there.
invite? I didn't
I
get an
wasn't there on
invite.
the 13th, I don't think.
Okay.
13th or
Thank
27th.
you. I have one, thank you.
You got one of these?
No.
The invite.
Oh, Nancy sent this to
You
me.
weren't there for the
It's
11th.
been 20 years.
No, I abstained for that.
Business instead.
We sent. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
All those in favor, motion to adjourn?
Second, third, and fourth.
Aye.
So ordered.
So it's written, so it's done.
It was written, so.